happened.
So welcome, folks. We are trying to pull up so that we are correctly sharing with you what we truly believe has happened on Ohio. There's some exciting news
Yeah.
on the front of American State Nationals and on the front of the True Republic. And so it seems that we have a situation on Ohio of Ex Parte Milligan. I always say Mulligan.
Milligan, Ex Parte Milligan.
Ex
Right.
Parte Milligan. It seems that Ohio has had some successes that the rest of us have been striving for. And so, as we here in Massachusetts are getting our pillars up and running, getting things in place to have our pillars up and running, we're moving forward, we're moving towards that goal. Um, Ohio apparently has done it.
Yeah.
Cheers, Ohio.
Yay. Yeah. And so Ex Parte Milligan, when you execute it, you declare it.
Hmm.
What you're essentially doing is you are saying that the common law court of we the people is now standing. And so what it officially says is notice of capacity and standing of the Ohio State American Common Law Living Courts. And so it is a notice to all of the governmental service agencies, which historically in our lifetimes we have thought was the government, but which we have been learning over the last several years is actually not the government at all, but our employees, our contractors who have been given a limited amount of roles that they are supposed to be filling and a limited agency to carry out certain tasks on our behalf, which we all know anyone with eyes to see and ears to hear. They have far and above over extended, taking authority that they were never granted, essentially deciding that they're going to rule every aspect of everyone's life. And so this is essentially the Ohio Assembly's declaration that says, no, we're all done. And we are now back in session. Our jurisdictional courts are now back in session. And so the wording that the language which is referenced in the Declaration of Ex Parte Milligan ties back specifically to the Northwest Ordinance, which is called an ordinance for the government of the territory of the United States northwest of the Ohio River, 1787, and it's still in effect. And so it is a declaration which is an affirmation of the rights of living men and women to be governed by common law. And you want me to read it? It's
Um, I actually do, but before
okay.
you read it, what I want to say is it's not so when we say noticed, right? That there's a notice that's gone out. What that means is public notice.
Mhm.
So um oftentimes American State Nationals will say, you know, notice to agents is notice to principals, notice to principals is notice to agents. And basically, what that means is that we are announcing, reminding officially through the written word and our autograph and a number of other little pieces of information that we're back, that we're here, that we're alive. We're not lost at sea. We are not dead. We are alive. We are here. And we have reclaimed our status, that we became aware of the fraud, that not just as individuals, as people, but as a group of people, the original republic, right? And so it is sharing that information in a public way.
Right. Not necessarily right out in your face, but back in the old days, the posting of the bans would somebody would take a piece of parchment and hang it up on at the town square on the big standing rock, and it would stay there for the designated number of days. I probably 30 days, 60 days, whatever. And the purpose of that is that you have made your declaration. You have put your stake in the sand. This is where you stand. And it all
So
ties back to the language of land and soil, but that
it
gives the public the
does.
opportunity to say, nope, I object. I have a higher claim than you.
So
That what
however, so that's generally what happens, but we are hearing rumor. Now, we have not verified this. We are hearing rumor that it wasn't just done by American state nationals, that it was actually recognized by the de facto. So by the jurisdiction that is not we the people, that is the corporation, that it was recognized and that agents of their corporation and police of their corporation, right? That they have all been notified not to detain American state nationals because American state nationals are back. And we have a right to be in peace and to be free and not to be detained.
right.
Um, if no man, woman, child, or their property has been harmed. So that's what we are hearing, and that's what we wanted to talk about. So yes, now
Yes.
please
Yeah.
read the statement.
Right. Okay. So it says within the body, and this is only it's really fully one page with a lot of accompanying um, autographs and also the fee schedule, which is essentially this is the for this is what happens should any of these agents trespass against the rights of the living men and women. So it says the inhabitants of the said territory shall always be entitled to the benefits of the writ of habeas corpus and of the trial by jury of a proportionate representation of the people in the legislature and official proceedings according to the course of the common law. All persons shall be bailable unless for capital offenses where the proof shall be evident or the presumption great. All fines shall be moderate, and no cruel or unusual punishments shall be inflicted. No man shall be deprived of his liberty or property but by the judgment of his peers or the law of the land. And should the public exigencies make it necessary for the common preservation to take any person's property or to demand his particular services, full compensation shall be made for the same. And in the just preservation of rights and property, it is understood and declared that no law ought ever to be made or to have force in said territory that shall in any manner whatever interfere with or affect private contracts or engagements, bona fide and without fraud, previously formed. This is an invocation of the Supreme Court ruling known as Ex Parte Milligan. Ex Parte Milligan 71 U.S. 2, 1866. Americans are not subject to the authorities of military war and are owed the law of peace. Law of Peace, DOA, PAM 27 161 11956. In here, this is such a powerful statement, and it also addresses the fact that eminent domain, the taking of private property by the government service agencies who are not the government, is actually color of law because they do not have that authority. Only common law, which does not exist in that jurisdiction. It does not exist in their courts. It does not exist in their democracy, in their bodies of state. Those are all corporate entities. They are all connected to the de facto. That is not common law. It is not we the people. It is not our peers. And so this right here essentially recognizes that eminent domain is color of law. They have no right to do that, among other things, but also it declares our this is essentially our remedy because this is our right. This is foundational. We are not subject to any authority of this military war. And so there are so many things embedded within all of these different premises, I guess, and also if you tie it to the law of peace, that's written. That's something that the military has in their records, and supposedly people that are joining the military, which is all corporate, and every person who joins the military as it stands is essentially signing up to serve a foreign corporate entity and not we the people. There are protections that are written in that are supposed to be governing their behavior. Do they know this? I don't know. Doesn't seem like it oftentimes, but there's also kind of a blending, I think, of language and recognitions that seem to flow within both, but without a full comprehension of what it actually means.
Mm, which is how tyranny is allowed to happen.
Mhm. Yep.
And so um if they're standing on the side of right, then everything is okay. But if they're not, um, then tyranny ensues.
Right.
And so, what we're saying here is that it appears, oops, pardon me, may not have seen that, but that happens frequently when I'm on Zoom. For me, there is an interruption. Um, it appears that Ohio has the Ohio Assembly has successfully um, noticed or um,
Given them the stand down orders, essentially.
been
Yes.
recognized as having given notice for
Yep.
Ex Parte Milligan.
Yep.
And that's very exciting.
It is.
It's very exciting. And so many states right now, um,
Including Massachusetts, we are
including
moving towards that.
Massachusetts,
That is exactly where we're going.
there is a surge of excitement about
Mhm.
what this signifies. So many of us are moving forward to um, get our pillars up and running, do the last few things that we need to do, or the many few things that we need to do in order to
Right.
make that happen. So there's excitement and good news on the front.
Yeah. Yeah. It is very exciting. So from what I was explained by the chair on Ohio, Lisa, who came out to Massachusetts to do a little gathering, and many nationals came from all over the Eastern Seaboard to see her. She explained that they posted their notice in 3 public locations, and someone from the de facto picked it up and also republished it I don't know the details, I don't know where, it is showing up in a 4th public notice forum. So we need to find out more of that so that people can actually go find it, because when you do a search on the internet, of course, all of the suppression, we can
Algorithms are
we can
not,
find no ev we can find no evidence of that, yet it does exist, and so, that's what we're up against. We're up against the censorship to try to prevent people from finding out the truth, and that's the whole conversation around suppressing the truth about the harms of the COVID response, et cetera, and many other things. So,
so so I want to just also stress for anybody watching that may not be interested in becoming an American state national, or may be threatened or fearful about American state nationals because of what they have heard, or because of what people who are talking about sovereignty are doing, or what they've seen, or they've succumbed to the fear mongering um, of the de facto. Um, we are a people at peace, and we have every interest in desiring to remain at peace. We really just want to be left alone,
yes.
to be able to live freely, sovereignly, divinely, honestly, openly, with integrity. And that's why we are seeking what we are seeking,
Right.
because we have a right to live outside of the tyrannical practices of the de facto.
Right, which rule by force. All of that is force.
Yeah,
Fear requires force for it to remain, and so there is constant force being applied, and that's an act of violence. Whether you are able to consciously recognize that or not, it nevertheless, it's a truth. When you are living in fear of repercussions for not obeying certain commands, such as file your income taxes and pay them, obey the authorities, if you must ask for permission in order to conduct your business, if you do not do so, guess what, harm will come to you. And
right.
so that is the rule of force.
Yeah, and
That is what we are. That is the opposite, the antithesis of what living men and women and our sovereign god-given rights are. And
yeah,
so that's what we are doing. We are saying we no, we do not wish to be ruled by force, and we're stepping out of that. We're taking
we
back our rights.
we're we are, and our belief and our when I talk about integrity, I truly mean that we are interested in the freedom, in living in freedom, living in a way that's divine and honorable without prejudice, all rights reserved without prejudice.
Yep.
What does that mean? What does that truly mean? It means that I comprehend that I don't have the right to harm another.
Yep.
Don't have that right. And if I inadvertently harm another, then I owe remedy.
Yes.
Right? And that is achieved, the remedy is achieved by a court of our peers if we cannot come, if the parties cannot come to a peaceful resolution about disagreement about what has transpired, what has taken place. We have to be able to be adults and have conversation
Mhm.
without just inadvertently jumping to wanting to harm somebody or throw somebody in jail because they haven't bowed down to someone's authority. So there's a lot in here there's a lot, there's so many implications. There's so
Yep.
many implications. But before assuming that we're cult members, start to do a little bit of research. Just start to do a little bit of research. And I know that today, research online
Is difficult.
is censored, it's
Yep.
difficult, but documentation actually still exists, right? Documentation that hasn't been burned,
Mhm.
that hasn't been erased, that hasn't been hidden. There's still a whole lot of that in existence. um, in a lot of places. And so begin to do that. Begin to explore
Right.
what's out there.
Right. And if any people that are listening to this are connected with the military mindset, which is the police, it's first responders, it's the military. Realize that the same people who have been hiding all of this information have been the ones training you and reciting slogans that you take in because they feel good. It's all about brotherhood. It's all about being exclusive. It's all about, it's us against them. That us against them mentality, which comes, I know, and just from my history of, my relationships with people that are former military, they believe that the people will essentially dissolve into utter chaos, killing each other with violence if they don't have this authoritarian hierarchical oversight, which is the government structure, to go in there and to take care of them. That, I
So
mean, that is an indoctrination.
I get why there is need for a bit of that. But what's really important in this instance is the difference between leaders in the de facto who have integrity and leaders who do not? Is there a need for law and order and some might because the rights of men, women, and children have been violated and people need to be brought to justice in order to protect the rights of men, women, and children, to protect their sovereignty, to protect their rights. There's a whole lot going on the world stage right now. And we have to be really careful about not making assumptions about where people are coming from. We have to do a little bit of investigation and have a trust and a belief in I'm going to say having our God goggles on here and being able to comprehend that sometimes there's more going on than we can comprehend in the moment. And the more we are able to remain calm in situations that are not calm in moments of chaos, the more that's going to work in our favor to be able, if you comprehend what your rights are and you are doing what's right and you know for a fact what is transpiring and where people are coming from, then you're more empowered to be able to make the right decisions. And so do a little bit of investigation. Um, and what do I want to say here? Uh, have a little faith and trust in your higher self and do your homework because the idea of being on the land and soil is not about um it is not just about trust and faith in your fellow man. It is about doing your homework and being prepared and
Mhm.
being grounded and having your head screwed on a little bit to be able to comprehend the multidimensionality of what's happening. There is something larger going on, and we are physical bodies, and we have a right to be free, and we have a right to live in sovereignty. It's a divine right, and that's what we're in support of.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for your attention. Do a little bit of investigation, reach out and ask questions if you have them. We'd be happy to answer them
Yep.
to the best of our ability
Fruit
because
from a
we're
Poisonous Tree,
sovereign.
and Fruit from a Poisonous Tree is a good book if people wanna do some very basic.
Begin. Yes, if you
Yeah,
haven't already,
right.
begin, right? Yes. Yes. Thank you for that.
And I think he was actually a judge. So, that's Mel Stamper.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Thank you. Thank you.